Once there was a little girl. She was a shepherdess and she looked after sheep. But one day she lost one of her sheep, and so she went walking into the nearby forest to see if it was there. And as she walked, she picked bits of wool from the branches of trees and bushes, and she was spinning them on her fingers as she went. But after a while of searching, she got tired, and so she leant herself against a tree. She thought it was a birch tree, and she rested. But as she leant against the tree, she thought she felt it sway and move against her. And when she looked up, she thought she saw a face in that tree, a wooden face with bark for skin. And it smiled at her. It was like a lady's face. But she was scared, and so she went to jump away. And the tree spoke to her. The birch face spoke. It said, "Child, stay. Don't run away. Let me look at your little feet so pretty and sweet. Imagine what it's like for me. I'm rooted deep in the ground. I cannot dance or move around. So dance for me, child, just for a while." Well, what would you do? Would you dance for a tree? The girl, she thought, surely there's no harm in dancing just a little. And so she went around the tree. Once, twice she began to skip and trip lightly around the tree, until one time a branch came down and it caught her, and it gripped her tight. And then the tree began to tremble and quicken, and it heaved itself out of the ground, and it began to dance with her, round and round, wilder and wilder, faster and faster. The girl and the tree, they danced all day. The light faded, and still they danced. They danced so much that the shepherdess was completely out of breath, and she had to cry out finally, "Please stop, my feet are so sore, I can't dance any more." But still the tree swung her round and round, and they danced and danced, until she was quite near despair, thinking that that tree just didn't care, until finally it flung her up in the air and caught her again and cradled her in its branches. And then the tree laid her back down against its trunk and settled itself back into the ground. And the little girl wondered, was that all a dream? And she looked up, and the face was still there in the trunk, and it seemed to smile at her. And then she heard the words, "Child, thank you. Now I have dances to dream in my sleep, and memories I'll always keep. Your sheep is found, your wool is spun, good luck's to come. Now take some leaves to remember me and the time you danced with a tree." And the little girl, she bobbed a curtsy to the tree, and she took her apron and she filled it with leaves from the ground. And there on the path was her sheep, and she began to walk home. But as she walked, her apron seemed to be heavier and heavier. How could leaves be so heavy? And as she was walking along the road, it was like she was bent double by the load, until finally the leaves came tumbling out with a ring, clink, clink, and what do you think? The leaves were solid silver, every one, and the poor days of that little shepherdess were done. And as she went walking home that day, her heart was light, and she thought she heard a leafy laugh following her along the path.